Hello, hello, and welcome to the show. Today, Jake and I are diving into some real talk. This is very off the cuff, and it's stemming from me just being sick and tired of the pretender nation out there and the deception that happens, especially in the mentor business space. And really, just from me being self-aware, I have realized and I feel like have garnered so much more mental freedom by being aware of all the pretenders out there and maybe who I'm actually taking advice from and how that has affected me in the past.
Yeah, and she really lit it up. She didn't hold back. So you're gonna definitely hear some real talk, some examples, which I'm very grateful that she had the heart to share that. And my hope as well is for you to really understand that just because there's two truths on the outside, but has a lie in between, it's not worth it. And we're going to really unpack that. How do you start to uncover people's values, what they really stand for, knowing how to step away in an appropriate way without burning bridges or hurting people or coming off as judgmental. And so I'm very excited that you had this idea, and I think you're going to really enjoy this episode. So make sure you listen into the end. And as always, if you enjoyed it and you really think this could help someone else, please share this episode on your social media, tag us. And that's just really to allow more people to live a fortified life. And so with that being said, let's dive in.
Enjoy.
So you and I were talking the other day, and there was this topic that came up that you were sharing with me privately because it came from some of these women that you were talking with, and it was a situation many of them had. And I was like, I think we need to actually discuss this because this is something that a lot of people face and not enough people talk about it. So what's on your heart?
You know, it is that it's a pretender nation out there. And what I mean by that is it's like who is real and who is not. And it didn't just come up with these two women on one day, but it's come up over and over and over again where people have been deceived. They have hired coaches or mentors and they did not get what they paid for, or they, attached themselves to another person, whether it be in business or doing events together. And then they realized this person in the dark does a lot of dirty, shady stuff, but puts kind of like a cover on, a lot of times using God or whatever, but they're really not walking in integrity, and they're not congruent. Mm-hmm. And I don't mentor many people one-on-one, but I do a few people, usually 5 a month when I do my brand rehaul with them. And there was 2 women that were looking for consulting, and I was, back to back. They're separate Zooms, and they had been, they invested a lot of money in other coaches, and they just were like, I'm not getting what I paid for. And, I then start asking a lot of questions back, because anything in mentoring, it's like a 2-way street, like truly is. Like, you get the blueprint, you got to execute it. And I find
you don't mean that you're like a guru and
no,
you just like make poof, everything happens. And oh yeah, so they actually have to do the work.
You have to be so hungry. And I always tell people before they hire a coach, like, are you really hungry to succeed? Otherwise, do not do it if you're looking for someone to wave their pom-poms at you, but I was talking to individually these women, and, a little bit different circumstances, but one of them, she's like, I need to lose weight. I need to build my personal brand. Like, there's multiple layers of what I'm looking for. I want to grow in my faith. And she had been interviewing potential people to mentor her. And the majority of them were men. I was the only woman. And I just started asking her questions about what exactly she was looking for, and to be sure that those people could help her, grow closer to where she wants to be. And I, ended up sharing a lot with her, like, you're asking for like a male to coach you with half of the stuff is super feminine things. And just like the whole thing of like, who do you take advice from and what's their track record? And I just think it's so important to do that research before you invest in anything, because it's like Pretender Nation out there right now, where a lot of people can just make it look like they're super successful, make a lot of money. In fact, if they talk about how much money they make, they probably don't make that much money at all. You know, it's just like, I just think we see so much fabrication that people don't know who to trust, who to listen to, all that.
Wow. And so, you know, what resonated with me, and I think that's why it's so important we're talking about this, is the fact of you just don't know what you don't know, right? And you've seen these red flags, yellow flags, maybe a few green flags, right? But a lot of yellow and red flags. And so I would love to actually hear from your perspective, because you've been in the entrepreneur industry for almost 15 years. You know, you started when you were what, like 5 or something like that?
23.
But I think it'd be powerful for some takeaways of like, what are some things, whether it's a woman that's starting an entrepreneurship or a man that's starting or they're crushing it, what are some things to really take into consideration when they are considering who to follow, who to listen to, whether it's a mentor or even maybe on someone on social media?
No, you're so right, because you're taking in so much information. If you're listening to someone's podcast, if you're following them on social media, if you're watching their stories, that is so much influence that someone can have over you, especially if they're like an authority in the space or whatever. And so I really think and believe it's important to try to understand what their belief system is, and you know, what their core essence is. Like, where is this coming from? And so there may be somebody super successful, maybe they have really good sales tips or whatever, at least you think it's good sales tips. But if it's grounded and rooted in narcissism or, you know, deceit, then you're going to be taking in all that information. And so for me, what I've learned throughout all my years is find the real deal people. And I will tell you that it's like way less than you think. And what I mean by that is what is their value system? And, you know, when you first get into business, it's like you just want to make a life for yourself. You just want to be successful. You just want to be able to pay your bills without caring how much the water bill is. Like, let's just be honest. You just want to be able to go to Whole Foods and not have it be whole paycheck, and you don't care how much it is. And so you're willing to do anything and listen to anyone. And what happens is you get indoctrinated in their ideology. You get indoctrinated in their belief system subconsciously. Mm-hmm. So they're telling you every way to do things. And if they don't have values, if they're not rooted and have, for me, faith, then they're going to teach you from a place of what they value the most.
Wow. That's profound, because, you know, people get caught in this loop of like, oh, but it's great content. It's great. Like it's great skills. And yes, it is. But there comes to a point where you have to have a conscious decision and awareness that you can still sandwich a lie between two truths. That's the good old saying. Where's the best place to hide a lie? And it's between two truths. Oh. And so there are people, if you're a fool, you'll put two lies on the outside and put truth in. Like, no one follows people like that unless you're just completely dumb, right? Because that you don't get big from that. But how people that are deceptive is they know how to sandwich it. And that's, to be honest, it's from the beginning of time when man was deceived. They were deceived from Satan from the beginning. That's the whole fall of man is deception. And so why that's so important for you listening on this is because all the information is out there, right? The right sales, like there's people right out there right now that and I don't align with, but let's say if I wanted to learn from, I could go to their programs, to their courses. They're crushing in sales. They teach you a whole framework, but what would I pick up also on top of the sales stuff if I'm going in and immersing myself with them? Like I could go learn to be a better salesperson, but there's a reason why I don't want to, because I consciously now aware. Before I'd be like, wait, that person's good. It's like, no, there's deception behind it. You're naturally going to pick up those habits and traits. And it's so important, because if you feel like you have been on a slippery slope, or you've been feeling like there's a lot of like, wait, I wasn't swearing as much before, but now I kind of am ever since watching this person. Or, you know, I was super faithful and devote to my Bible, but ever since watching this quote unquote preacher who's not really like, you know, like a biblically sound preacher, now I'm questioning and looking at other things outside the Bible. And it's like those slip in like the thief in the night that comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Yeah. And I just wanted to highlight that. And this is just a real conversation, because every single person that is deceptive knows how to sandwich themselves between two truths. And it looks really good from the outside. Yeah. It's a brownie you want to eat. Then you realize there's a bunch of crap in it. And that's when you have to go to the bathroom for multiple hours, and you have all these repercussions because you wanted to eat that brownie even though you knew it wasn't good for you.
Oh my gosh. You're so
Is that too much?
No, this is Truth Talk 101. Welcome to the Truth Show. We are here.
We rebranded already to the Truth Show. No, it's the Fortitude Show.
Let me give you another example of this. So there was a woman on Instagram that I followed, and she's like major in the business space. And I don't consume a lot of content, but I consume content and I listen to what people are saying and whatever. And I just so happened to like be on one of her lives that she posted. And first of all, she was like manic. Like it made me feel manic because she was manic. And what I mean by this is she was like, okay, well, I have downtime right now, so I need to, you know, be productive. And I'm doing a live right now while I'm doing my makeup. And I just need to be doing, you know, something. And, you know, she was just talking about how she got up at 4 a.m. and was on a million calls. And then, you know, she goes to bed at 10 at night, and she can't relax in the bathtub and use every minute of your whole day to be productive and be hustling. And you know, my partner in life, like he gets this and whatever. And so this is just where we're at. And I just kind of stepped back and I was like, she is so in her masculine and she's so manic. I don't care if she has the greatest sales advice known to man. I guarantee she's not having sex with her husband. I guarantee she's not, you know, reading her Bible, or maybe not even that, just has any form of pursuing faith. It is all money driven, ego driven, proving people wrong. All she talks about is her haters. I'm like, her essence, her core essence, for me, I don't want to follow that. I don't at all. And so that's how it came up. And though we do not have a child yet in our life, yet, I'm very protective of women that have kids. I always have been, because I've always coached women that have babies, young kids. And I think I just have, and I don't understand exactly because I'm not in it. I don't know what it's like to have babies or raise kids, but I try as hard as I can, babe, to put myself in a woman's shoes who wants to create something, wants to be some, you know, whether it's entrepreneur, but also wants to be a great wife, and, you know, also wants to be a great mom. And I try to like think of her at, you know, because I just think that from being someone who grew up a lot of times without parents, it's like I spent 30 years recovering from childhood trauma. And, you know, I know my siblings could say the same. And so I just have so much grace for women, especially that are creating something also moms, also wives. And I'm protective of them and of what they're taking in, because if you follow someone who does not value their faith, marriage, being a parent, a good parent, like eventually you're going to model that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And there's something I want to add into that, which is, look, there's people, including ourselves, like when we talk, you better be thinking the same things for ourselves.
100%. And
right.
I said this the other day. I said this on an Instagram story. I just have to interject. I said, remember, I don't have kids. So
That's
like
good.
I can be doing this stuff right now, certain things. I don't have like a child to look after.
Yeah.
It's so important to know and think about what kind of life does the person
Right.
have that I'm taking on.
Yeah. And so every person that is a decent human being values the things you value. You know, for the most part, they value their relationship, their business, their husband or spouse or kids, potentially if they have faith, their God. But the question is what's the order of the value?
It's good.
Because that's the misconception most people get. Like, no, but they value this, but how much, to what? You know, it's going back biblical scripture. Not that this is faith based or anything in this sense, but it's like you could either put God as the idol and the pedestal and put money under it, or there's a simple flip where you put the money above God and God's under that, and it's a completely different life. Mm-hmm. You value them both, but what's the priority? And so it's the same when you follow these people, including us, is really trying to dissect and understand. It might not happen right away, but what are their value systems? And you might not know the answer right away, but you could just watch. And this example Emily was sharing, and I could give an example later of maybe another like male figure that I once followed before. But it's like this woman, you can see that the way she shows up most part is business is way up there. I don't think she ever talks about faith. I don't know. They could be closet believers. I don't know. Well, fine. We just know that's not a huge value because it's not shown. Doesn't mean that you have to promote and all these things. But so business is up there. Sometimes relationships up there. But the things that Emily's looking to value in a woman, of someone that she could follow and mentor, it's not the same. And they're all similar values, but the prioritization is not the same. And so that's something to take in, which is there's a lot of these people are great people. This woman is a great woman. It's just standing at the gate of your mind, standing guard at the gate. You have to be so careful, because just like how Emily at one point would follow only men because that's all she knew, she was subconsciously taking in their behaviors and their actions and their ways of doing business. And that's why at one point, you could add into this in a second, you were very masculine in your business, but here you are today because you found new ways to follow people, and you're still crushing it in business, but you're a whole different woman. And people tell me all this time about you. They're like, before you and Jake, and I'm not taking any credit. I'm part of the credit, but I'm not all the credit. Like there was a healing between both of us. But they're like, she's a new woman. But guess what? She's not any less successful. She's even more. Mm-hmm. And it's such a beautiful way to just look at that, you know?
Yeah, thank you. And I get so many questions from women that are like, I want to be more feminine, and I want to be more peaceful. And can you crush it and simultaneously still be peaceful? Mm-hmm. Yes, you absolutely can.
A few years ago, you probably didn't believe that.
No, I didn't. I thought I had to stay up all night, and I had to travel everywhere and say yes to everyone. And there's seasons of life where you're launching something, you're building something, whatever. I'm talking more about the essence of someone that you follow.
Yeah.
Like, what is their core values? And we're in the age of personal brand. I mean, I literally coach people on personal brand. And if you never tell me or talk about your husband or wife, but you're married, I don't know. That's weird for me. That's like a disconnect. That's very strange. Mm-hmm. If you're on the road, 100+ nights a year, away from your spouse, and
Yeah, you could tell me how much you love your spouse, but that doesn't answer it.
You're taking photos and you're at little mastermind dinners, and you know, to me, like, that ain't it, honey. That ain't it. It's just not it. And so I think this is more about being conscious about who you're taking in, and it's not coming from a lens of judging. It's coming from a lens of just being aware
Yeah.
of what somebody's values are. And, you know, do I want to take in everything they're saying? And, you know, a woman that I'm so different from, but I value her, is Chalene Johnson. You know, I've had her on my previous
she's amazing.
podcast. And the reason I value her, multiple reasons. She's been in the industry a very, very long time, but she has her priorities right. And she'll tell you that over and over again, but yet she, you know, did amazing, successful things, but it's always been, you know, her family has been first, right? And, or her faith, her family, and then her career. And, you know, so I've really modeled her. You know, she's been married a very long time. I can't remember that her and Brett just had their anniversary, like, such a long time.
Mm-hmm.
They've been through hard times. They'll share their hard times. They're not trying to make themselves look absolutely perfect. That's another red flag for me. If you can never tell me your faults, ever,
Wow.
there's something off. There's something off. Where, you know, Brett had a gambling addiction, her husband, and they talk about how they got through that. And they talk about, listen, they live a great life, but they also talk about the dark side that they went through. And I just think, again, there's so many people on social, there's so many podcasts, there's so many YouTubes, there's so many events. It's like, just be mindful what you're listening to. And sometimes I'll find new people and I'll start to play it, and I'm like, this is garbage. And I just exit the building,
Yeah.
you know? But I'm speaking really right now to the person that's like, I want to grow. I want to learn. I want to make a living. I want to make a good legacy business. I get it. 'Cause you're just like, I'm willing to take advice from anyone.
Right.
You know?
When you're, well, whoa, this just hit me. I'm studying a lot of scripture, so I love this. So back in Genesis, when the fall of man happened, I talked about this already with with deception. You know what preceded the deception? Was hunger. They wanted to eat from the trees. Not that there was probably hunger at that time, but there was this concept of they wanted this apple, and because of it was tantalizing, and there was a little bit of deception because they knew they shouldn't eat there, but because there was a perversion of words, they were like, well, I guess he, you know, didn't say that we can't eat from this tree, and they ate. And, you know, most times this is and we're first examples of this. When you're hungry and you want things, not just food wise, but you're hungry to learn, that's where deception creeps in. This personal development world, there's a lot of deception because that's where the hungry people are. They want to learn and grow and become more. And the issue is that you have to stand at the guard of your mind even more, because that's where false doctrine or corruptive beliefs can come in. And we've had our own experience. We're not perfect. We've thought one thing one point, and we realized that was totally self-egotistical and putting God out and saying you're your own God in some way. We're like, no, we just want to grow. And so I just want to bring that, like, it's good to be hungry, keep pursuing. But if you're pursuing, you got to also get rid of the blinders and realize there is everything out there. And there's so much, like you say, but this person has so much good insights. Like, I remember I used to listen to and learn from a lot of people that talk about law of attraction. But I'm like, no, I want to manifest my life and attract all these things. And it's like, but they have so much good concepts. And guess what? I stopped listening to them, found some other rock solid, like biblically scripture minded people that teach those same type of strategies. And I'm achieving the same success versus the people saying you got to manifest your dreams. And it's like, I'm still getting the results, but we get so fixated thinking that's the only option.
Yeah.
And that's where you have to challenge yourself and say, is this something that I am addicted to and I can't get rid of because I'm afraid that there won't be something else? Or am I open to still learning, but really understanding the values and understanding what is my values first off? Do I want to learn things that are against my own values? Do I want to follow this person that probably doesn't have a good relationship? Because you could obviously tell that they say they love God, but they don't really act like it. I see them, swearing. Like there's people that are getting idolized right now that say that they're believers and big time. I'm talking about world-class people. You probably know what I'm talking about, athletes. And I'm like, but this dude's swearing, this dude's saying that God told him to go gamble. And I'm like, how can you like idolize that? Maybe there's some good things to learn from him, but don't put him as a pedestal. You know what I mean? Oh, I'm getting my juices. I'm blood boiling right now. But it's good. It's good. It's passion. It's passion. We're not judging. We're bringing awareness, and I hope you feel this right now.
Yeah, it's so important, and it's also important to really look at like if the person's living their life based on a feeling, and it's highs and lows. And let me just say this. This is a moment of radical honesty. I spoke at this event in November after our wedding, and
we're married, by the way.
It was like a biblical,
still pretty fresh.
It was a faith-based event, so I got to really go. Yeah, I got to unleash in a different way. I just got to totally go unleash. And a woman came up to me, and she was like, had tears in her eyes, and she was like, "I got to be honest with you. I followed you years ago," and she goes, "And I unfollowed you." But I followed you back. And I was like, at first I was like, excuse me? Because I was like, what the, you know what I mean? I was like, what you unfollowed me? Like, why are you telling me this?
Yeah.
And she's
I
like,
remember the story.
And she goes, because you literally were so lost. And she's like, you I could just tell. And looking
doing
back,
sound baths, getting some yoga. Like we thought that was good stuff.
I just was, not in a good place. I've always known God, but I haven't I haven't walked with God. It's completely different.
Yeah.
It's so different in case you don't know that already, but it's so different. And I was looking for love in all the wrong places. I was never like a girl that would show a ton of my body, but I definitely would take some like thirst trap photos. I mean, now I'm like, what in the what?
And trust me, she could still do those types of photos, but she chooses not to.
I'm so healed now, but before, I mean, listen, I didn't have
a smoke show.
I didn't have a dad growing up, and like it was attention, right?
Yeah.
Like so, I knew what the woman was telling me, and I actually was so grateful for it. And I share this now because it's like she had enough discernment to basically unfollow me because I was triggering her. I was triggering her, and she doesn't want to live like that. She doesn't want to live with her tits out, her butt out, like thirst trap photos, because she's in a covenant, she's married, she just doesn't want to be triggered by that. And probably other things I was doing as well. Who knows? I was kind of a loose cannon for a little bit. And so I share this because like even me today, I unfollowed a couple chicks not too long ago who I actually do really like. Like I would hug them if I saw them here today, but they trigger me. Like I am like I'm married, and I'm like, why? I don't want to see this. I don't want to see these photos in my feed. And it makes me feel disgusted, and it makes me feel sad for you, but it also makes me feel like, should I be more sexy? Am I not sexy enough? It's just it's triggering. Wow. And so I'm like, I don't want to see this. And so I share this like really intimate thing with you to make you understand that people can change. We're living proof of it. Yeah. I have been healed and set free by the blood of Jesus, and I'm so grateful. Like I never even knew that I could have this much peace in my life. I had no idea that I could have this much peace, yet be this motivated simultaneously. I didn't even know they could coexist. I thought in order to be successful and to make stuff happen, you had to like be, you had to hustle and you had to force and you had to almost be manic. And the piece that I was like, do these people not even care about their life and their purpose? And I'm like, are they just lazy? And, it must be nice for them. I didn't even understand. And so I share this with you so you can understand no matter what spectrum you're on, there's always healing available for you and, awareness. And so when I was so caught in the darkness that I was in, I wasn't aware that I was posting photos that looked like a thirst trap, or I was, coming off the way I was. I honestly thought I was like motivating people.
Right. And that's because your normal was probably the people you surrounded yourself with.
Oh my gosh.
So you were subconsciously taking that into, but this person's successful. They're doing it. This person says they're a believer and they're doing this.
And I had a mentor. I had someone mentor me from afar who was like, you look good. You're so hot. You're the next. I had a married man, say that to me. And he wasn't coming after me like he wanted to be with me, but that's not that. Emily today would be like, yo, get out of here. And by the way, let me call your wife, But back then, I was so scared, so naive, so just lost that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting attention. And he's really successful.
Wow. And one thing that hit with that, and this is, I reflect this myself. I'm just pointing out this situation. It's because in that moment, in that period of time, you didn't have God as your highest value. Business, success, money, whatever it was, there was something above it. So your values was whatever to achieve that was within compromise was the main thing. So that's why it was okay. But now you're like, this position where you have, and it's so beautiful. You said this on stage, and someone even after when Emily spoke in Tampa, next to Tucker Carlson and A-Rod, all these people, she mentioned on stage, she was like, she was talking about our story, how she tried to break up with me multiple times. And, I had to learn a lot as well, but it was truly God that saved our relationship and then allowed us to be in this beautiful covenant now. But she was like, now it's like God's at the top, my relationship with my spouse and the empire we're building. And I was like, oh, that's nice. That was actually the first time I've seen you say it on stage. And then we went backstage and a very powerful, amazing woman came up and she's like, I just love how you prioritize God and your spouse. And I was like, whoa, this really got picked up. But that's such a testament on this idea of just trying to decipher what people's values are, because you now look at that with what the guy was saying to you, because God's at your top, faith, right? Like trying to figure out, so if, whoa, but this doesn't align with my biggest priority, my biggest value, which is God. So that's how this actually works internally. And so I want to flip the question. I'll let you continue here. But for you listening right now, like think about what are you valuing? For a long time, I valued money because I was trying to do whatever I can. Even though I loved Emily, money was the higher priority because I would do whatever it takes to try to help her. But I would sacrifice her for the money, which I thought was a good thing, but actually caused a lot of problems. And so when I revalued this and I was like, no, like she's still priority, that allowed me to still work hard, but I don't sacrifice it for her, the love with you, does that make sense?
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And, I do have to say, like, God was always chasing me. He was always trying. And I always believe I've been protected by angels. I do believe that so much. I've been so protected. He was always trying to get my attention, but I never would have the dialogue with him. It was like one step forward, 100 steps back. Right. And so I always looked at people that fully submitted to God as boring and cringy and like too much and preachy and judgy. And that was the lens that I looked at those people. I was like, how boring. Do they even dance? Do they have fun? Like, do they have a cocktail? Like I had the wrong understanding. And until I fully submitted to God and said, yo, not my life, yours, your will be done, and on earth as it is in heaven. Like, until I fully submit, that's where I was like, actually, everything opened up because God's like, now you fully trust me, Emily.
Yeah.
So watch what was going to happen in your life. Watch the healing that you're going to have, that you've been trying to heal, doing all these different things. At one point in my life, I was going to therapy twice a week. That is expensive, by the way. Okay. You could get some shoes for that. And so I tried everything, but until I flipped it and I was like, I am going to be one of those girls. I'm a Jesus girl now. But I realized that he is the ultimate savior. It's like, what are you putting out? What are you putting on a pedestal? What are you exalting? And all these other things became the mantle. They were like the recognition, the rank, the business, the this, the that, the getting attention. That became the idol. And when it's rooted in from that place, destruction will occur on a huge level. And it did for me on so many different levels. And you see it today. A lot of people that are in the business space, because I'm just saying that because those are the ones that are public. Those are the ones that have these things right here, like the microphones. Like they're the ones, they're getting found out because you can only keep up with your lies for so long. And eventually, because everybody has one of these, eventually things come out. This is what I have found. And it's like, that's why we're seeing so much happen today of like, people are getting found out. People are suddenly getting questioned, all this stuff. It's like, it's like revealing itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's powerful, babe. So how does this like correlate into what you've seen onward, going back to like these women that you talked about that you're working with or reaching out? We'll talk about a little bit about what you do with them, but just how does this correlate now as you show up? Because you are mentoring people, right?
Yeah.
And so, and I know you don't accept anyone and you don't take it lightly on who you do bring in, but where does that reflect now for whether it's a man or a woman on these values you have, but also the business skills? Like describe more on that.
Well, I just think if you have a platform, with a platform comes responsibility. And so leadership is your example. Okay. It's your example. And so now I am like constantly, I'm still fully myself. Like, I'm just raw, real crazy in a good way, but I'm also like thinking and being conscious about how a daughter of the Lord like actually needs and should walk it out. And I'm making decisions based on that. And I'm trying, listen, I fail every day times 10, but like, I'm really trying to be a good steward of the freedom he's given me and with my relationship with him. Does that make sense? Like, it's like having that platform. I'm really working on just being mindful. Like I never was a big person who swore a lot, but sometimes like I'd drop a good F-bomb here or there and like I still got to reel it in, but I'm being so mindful of how I'm representing women.
Yeah. And with these women you're working with, it's powerful as a man to see, because I will never fully understand a woman. I get to see it firsthand through you, but for you to be able to work with them and to, this extraction process of their, cause you do these like VIP days,
yes.
right? And you do like, you work with their brands and it's so funny. And I know you're going to go on a whole rant on this cause you share it with me all the time, but it's like people say they understand brands, but then you go look at their brand and it doesn't represent the things they're teaching.
Yeah.
And it's like, talk about something of people that what they teach, but they don't practice. And so I want you to go on to that. But what I've seen and I've learned as a man, which is very insightful because I am taking notes, is how you really go to the depths of extracting essence from people, especially a lot of these women, but also men too. They say, I want to speak and I want to do what you're doing and I want to have this show. But it's like, it all looks like the rest. And it's not until, and I've seen the before and afters of these these full-on color palettes and brand Bibles, as we call it. And I've seen it before where they worked with someone else, and it's literally like, okay, that looks like Canva. Oh, I'm almost done. I'm just like, this is exciting. But then I see after of what it looks like when you just had some time to extract that, and it's like,
yes,
that is so profound. So I just touch into that.
Well, I don't publicly talk about this. This is like the first time I'm publicly even talking about this. But a lot of people say, hey, how can I work with you? Can I mentor with you? And we have Fortitude Mentorship. That is an incredible program for such an affordable price for people that I'm able to serve, and you're able to serve a lot of people. But I have 5 people a month. That is it. That is what I have time for, to be at my excellence with them, that I work with and mentor on a high level. And 90% of the time when people come in, no matter what they're needing help with, typically they need serious help with their personal brand. They do not have a brand identity. They don't have a message that stands out. It doesn't look professional. And I ask people, like, what's your goal? What do you want to do? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like the goal of what they want to build never matches their brand. And I'm like, are you subconsciously derailing yourself because you're not setting yourself up for success? And so the first part of working with me is rehauling your entire brand. And one of the women I'm recently working with, she comes from like a naturopath background and just also faith-based, and she kind of does a lot of different things. But she has never been able to reel it in. And because of that, she's had paralysis by analysis, is unable to create content. So what I do is I go deep with people. I'm talking deep. Who are you? What do you want?
Let's role play this.
Okay.
So you come to Jake.
Yeah. So
I'm over here looking like I just got, pulled out of the trash cans, but I want to have big dreams.
Yeah. So
what are you doing?
The first session, it's everything about you. Are you single? Are you married?
There's this woman I'm seeing.
How did you grow up? What are you working on? What do you want to be working on? What is your passions? Because I help them create pillars for their content, stuff eventually they could monetize, but some of it not. I go deep. With one of our clients, she's lost 100 pounds. She's a jazzercise instructor. She runs and owns a family business. She also sells health and wellness products. She also looks cute every day, and she's in her 60s. Mm-hmm. But I took all that, and I realized that she's a recovering people pleaser. She gained all that weight because she people pleased. She struggled in the family business because she people pleased. She's literally a new woman.
Did she have an aha moment when you shared that?
Oh, we cried, all of it. And so from there...
See, I don't think I'd be crying with my clients. Yeah. That's a perk.
Yeah.
Working
so
with you.
This takes a lot of work.
Wow.
And then from there, what I do is they work with our team. It's amazing. I have an incredible designer. Her and I work together on, do we feel this person is more pop color, or are they more like Vogue, like me, black and white? Are they more, her and I go so deep together, and then she works with them, and then we present them with a whole view of what their brand could be. And it's so great. Tomorrow I get to present 2 of them, and it's like night and day.
Wow.
And then from there, the client flies to our home. We do a full shoot. We do a video shoot where I do media coaching with them. We curate content that's based on their brand messaging. Mm-hmm. So it's at the end of it.
Are they coming into the studio too?
If it matches their brand, it's only if their brand is dark. Otherwise, they might have a brand where I need to find a pink wall. It just depends on what we create. And that's why the creative direction is so important. I help them with outfits as well. And we spend the day together. So I have not publicly shared this because I have been so busy behind the scenes working with high level clients from all different types and backgrounds. Some of them, they do coaching. Some of them, they do completely different stuff. But this is really my joy right now, is taking someone and like completely giving them, here's your new brand.
Yeah.
But then I understand content, because a lot of people, they maybe know how to do logos and colors, but they do not get how to do content or how to build a community or how to monetize it.
Yeah, that's one thing that really stood out with you personally. And then I realized this is not a normal thing, that Emily is not like everyone else, or everyone else is not like her, is like, you are a blend. And this is important for you to understand, is she's a blend of having enough professionalism to show her credibility, but not too much that it shows her inauthenticity. And then the side of, she's also relatable, where it's just enough that she can create a community attraction, but not too casual where it's like she doesn't look professional. So you have this blend where you see these people that are like, once again, brand experts, but everything is so perfectly curated that it actually feels inauthentic. So yeah, it might look good to the eye, but are you actually getting likes, comments, shares? And the answer is most likely always no.
Right.
And I think what you do, and it's awesome to see, and these are people that have a few hundred followers, a few thousand, is I'm seeing this firsthand. That's why I'm excited to share this, is I see this where you are literally helping someone, like the amazing woman, we're working with her together, you on the brand, me on the business side, but you are crafting this woman who doesn't have that big of a following, but she has such a powerful message. She is literally so sharp as a tact and speaking, and you're giving her life and allowing her to know how to create content that is very captivating, and it's getting traction. And so I want you to touch on that briefly, of this idea of actual creating continuity.
Yeah. Because 2024, like, you are the brand. And yes, to grow a brand, niching down and being hyper specific is a great way to grow, but it's also a great way to burn yourself out. If we were to be on this podcast right now and I said, all we're going to talk about is branding, and there's not one other thing we're going to talk about. We're not going to talk about our faith. We're not going to talk about our marriage. We're not going to talk about anything else. We can only interview brand people on here. That's it. You and I would be so bored, a year from now. And so, I look at a personal brand is multifaceted, but there is a through line, and there is a point of difference that takes introspection, and it takes a lot of brainstorming. That's why it's called a storm, right? It takes a lot of that. And it also takes somebody who sees something that maybe you don't see, because your natural gifts, you live them every day. You walk around hot every day with your biceps. Like, you don't see what I see.
I didn't even work out today.
That was a joke, but no, it's real.
I'll take
it's actually real. But
I need to get that pump. My guys, you know about that pump.
You don't see what I see. You don't. And I also see it from the marketplace. But so with this other client, I know eventually we need to see more 60-something women on stage. She is spunky. So we're going to craft a keynote from her new brand. But a lot of people are like, I want to be on stage, or I want to do this. I'm like, if your brand sucks, no one's going to hire you. Brand is everything. Mm-hmm. The reason I get brand collabs is because I have a brand. There's so many things. The thing I did number one best in network marketing is I did not build the company I was with. I built my brand. And that is why I was able to maneuver. I was able to do multiple different opportunities, because I did not pigeonhole myself. It's ever changing. And so, yeah, that's what I'm up to.
All right. So what do you got for them?
Yeah.
How do they, I mean, you got to be real.
Well,
how can you listen to this and not want this?
I am booking well into 2024. I truly only take 5 people at a time, because you fly here, we spend the day together. It's pretty magical, to say the least. And so we're booking well into 2024. But if you want more info, email info@itsemily.com.
And just put brand day in the subject and share some details. We'll reach out. Pretty simple
Yeah.
as that.
But why I like it, babe, is because a lot of coaching and stuff, it's just you get on and you just talk. I am very results driven, and I love it because it's like you literally get this whole thing where one of my clients right now, she's like, I've been spinning for 5 years and finally we're going to elevate her. I mean, she literally is going to 10x because of her
Wow.
brand, where right now it's not looking tight and right. It's looking a little clunky, right? And we're going to go, it's like walking into a nice hotel where you're like, oh, this feels good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
No, I appreciate you sharing all that because, I know we were talking about this idea and we tangent into that, but it was so powerful because it's like, it's almost a disservice not to share that.
Yes. And what I want to say to that is because we're on this point of how people view us. Some people they're not even aware how they're being viewed, and their true values are not showing. That's what I've found with mentoring people. They have so much depth, but their brand does not show that.
It's powerful. Yeah. And that's, as we wrap up the show here, it's really getting to that question of, including us, question who you follow. It doesn't mean you get into a very skeptic mind, because then you're not going to follow anyone and you're not going to go anywhere and you're going to be spinning plates. But like, really question, like, do they have those values that we align with and that I align with? And start to just watch, right? Sometimes you have to dive in a little bit, but don't fully dive in, but start to see, do they always, like Emily said, are they always manic? Are they always talking about business? Like, are they talking down about their spouse? Maybe they say they love them, but you could see that they cut off. And I'm not perfect. I know I'm trying to be better because I always have things to say that I want to potentially cut you off, but I have to respect that, right? Because I'm conscious of that. And I hope you have the same on that. It's like little distinctions like that. Like, do you see those things? Is that how I want my relationship? And so it's powerful. And look for those yellow flags. Most times it's not red flags. Red flags are the obvious. The yellow flags are the cautionary.
Yeah,
And
like a red flag would be like if they're in an open relationship and they,
oh my gosh, yeah.
or if they're getting baptized, but it's not in the Holy Spirit and they're using water to to be endorsed into their cult.
Don't get me down the road of using water baptism to join the brotherhood.
Listen, I will
get out of here.
Or if I'm not wearing your blood or vial of your blood around my neck, no, okay, that's weird.
That's a little intense, but yes, there's some crazy stuff.
There's some
out there.
Crazy red
but
flags.
There's a lot of yellow flags that go unnoticed. And those are the subtle cues that are usually the little deception sandwiched between the two truths. And so hopefully this you might not know the best ways to find it out. Maybe we'll talk about this more, but hopefully this conversation really brings that awareness. Awareness is the first part to then taking the action.
Yeah.
And we just feel called to share this. I know this is kind of like a different type of episode.
It's so different, but this is especially for the people that you consume their content. It's like, what is it? What is their essence rooted in? And, there's a lot of amazing people that I do really enjoy their content. They're not sold out for God like I am, but I pray for them. And I also know that they have a good heart and they're a good human. So I want to really acknowledge that this is not to judge people and say, oh, if they're not 100% on their faith, like, unfollow.
Yeah, you don't need to bash them or leave negative comments. Sometimes you just silently have to step away, just like how that woman did I'm glad she didn't tell that message to Emily, like, I had to stop following you because this and this. Like, that would have made Emily mad. That would have made her mad. But she silently did it, which I respect a lot. But she came up and told you that after, and that was so special. But that's the same for these people, is sometimes you just got to love them from afar. And that's no different with even some people in your own family. Right. So you get in those toxic situations and you just got to step away. Don't bash them. So if this resonated with you, obviously let us know. Tag this show. That's our only request is just to really just close the loop of letting us know that we are speaking to you and it's confirming certain things for your life. So tag It's Emily at Jake Havron, whether you want to write something about it or take a screenshot on Instagram, tag us on your stories. And of course, if you would love to even go above and beyond, it'll take 5-10 seconds. Just leave a review on the podcast platform you're using, YouTube, whatever works for you is just leave a review, because that is the bridge to the people that don't know us yet. They could see your review and trust your review, and then they could hopefully hear our message. And any final thoughts or things you want to add in before we close up?
Yeah, I would just remind you to be yourself and not be afraid to share like what you've been through. And I just believe that vulnerability is your strength, and that people that show both sides, not only are they relatable, that is the beautiful thing about human connection. And so if you struggle with perfectionism, just know that that is not going to help you win in life at all. It's really going to hold you back. And so once you learn something, a lesson, even though like there's certain things I'm like, oh, I don't really want to admit it, but guess what? I do, because it's going to help someone. And this is just the truth. That's like what I did. I'm not proud of it. That is the thing that separates you, is your honesty. And it's actually healing to help other people heal as well. So,
so
God
good.
bless.
Well, we'll end with that. And as always, if you want to reach out and work with Emily, the details will be in the show notes, info@itsemily.com. That'll be fun to work with her. And if you think this is probably for you, it is probably for you. So until then, thanks for listening. Until next time, we'll see you on the Fortitude Show.